Concrete, welcome to All Ball. Format unique, all access for all y'all. What the spill like? Back full of elite athletes that wanna teach and it speaks to the streets, so it feel right. Marcus Liberty, a legend on and off the coast to give you what you need. Robert Reed is your co-host. Go, yeah. Like and subscribe and follow like a crossover. Never know what might fall through this bitch tomorrow. So, All Ball Chicago. All Ball Chicago. All Ball Chicago. It's all I know. It's All Ball Chicago. All Ball Chicago. All Ball Chicago. All Ball Chicago. It's all I know. It's All Ball Chicago.
Welcome to another edition of All Ball Chicago. I'm your co-host, Robert Bobby Reed, and I got the legend, the NBA veteran, the Parade All-American, the McDonald All-American. You can name it, me, up to my man, my host, man, Marcus Liberty, man. What's up with it, Marcus?
What's up, my beautiful people?
Follow Marcus on TikTok when you can hear him really singing, right?
Right. That's me, boy.
Man, we got a special guest coming in here today, though, man. Scott Williams, bro. I mean, when you told me, and again, shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop for plugging us with that, man. We want to give him his roses for plugging us with that. But when you told me you talked to him, I got geeked, man. Because all I see is energy from that dude, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. And definitely, I think this book that he has, man, is going to be, something that we all should check out and read it, follow him, man, understand where he came from, and the obstacles that he had, man. Like we talking about obstacles, man. He had some obstacles that he had to get through, man, and overcome. So yeah,
bro, we ain't gonna talk about it unless you want to get on here and talk about it, but I was reading that stuff. You was telling me a lot of that stuff I didn't know. I was like, dang.
Right.
But let's switch over to the NBA, man. Woo, how about the NBA playoffs, man? It's been off the charts. Your team, Denver, looking unbeatable, bro.
Man, see, I told you. You don't listen. You don't listen, man. I told you, man. No, but for real, man, they are looking nice, man. For real, they looking real nice, and I think they got opportunity, man, this year because nobody was really talking about them. I think they got a good chance, man, to do something this year.
And the NBA got it right this year with the MVP. They gave it to Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
they got it right.
Definitely. And he's actually been doing his thing, man. And then we all know he got hurt, but they still came on top with him being hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're gonna see the old James Harden, but the way he played last game, that was the old James Harden.
It just shows you that guys had that gear, though.
His outfit, though, was like, man, I don't know about that.
Man, somebody paid him some good money to wear that thing, didn't they, man?
Right. And then
it was good to see him break out, though.
And then on the closeout game, what about Golden State? They go to Sacramento, and Chef went on and did his thing. Steph Curry.
He arguably. Look, I know people not gonna like this, but this is and I'm gonna say it. Right. He is top 4 assassins all time. Ooh. Michael, Kobe, Bron, and Chef. I'm talking about when it come to getting buckets, because we can't forget when Kyrie went down that year in Cleveland, Bron was averaging 36, 18, and 16. Right. Bron can get buckets. So those 3 guys right there are my bona fide killers. And you can throw AI in there. Who else you gonna put in there, Liv, that can score in bunches? Right. I'm talking about 94 feet too. I ain't talking about somebody that needs somebody to get in the ball.
Right.
Chef Curry is special, man.
So check that out.
Now he number 1 seed with better numbers. So by default, he should have won it. Yeah, I agree.
Joker with 6 seed last year and won it. And now he the number 1 seed with better numbers. So by default, he should have won based on improvement from last year.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead on, man. We got Scott, man, waiting on us. So, man, we might as well go ahead and bring him on because I know he probably got some more things he has to do. And we also have some things that we have to do. So
let me give him that intro then.
Go ahead.
Man, today we got a special guest in here. Well, he did his thing in California. He's a state champion in 1986 in California. Then he went on to play 4 years at Chapel Hill, North Carolina for Dean Smith. He went undrafted, but he turned that man into a 15-year NBA career and won 3 championships in the dough. Could you imagine going undrafted and then coming in your first 3 years and winning 3 titles in a row? Give it up, man, to my man, Scott Williams, man.
Hey, y'all! That's right. I had to sport the Chicago Bulls bling and represent.
Let's go,
Windy City, baby.
Let's go.
Good to see you, fellas, man. Thank you guys for having me on the pod. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm jumping on here a little late. I'd say I was coming back from the gym, but you know that'd be a lie. This body ain't seen a Stairmaster since 2005. How you fellas doing today, man? How's things in Chicago?
Oh man, we all lovely, man, here, and man, just enjoying it, man. We started this podcast, man, over COVID, man, and we just kept it going, and it's been wonderful, man, having special guests, people like yourself coming on, talking to some of our listeners, man, and expressing some of the things that you guys are doing with yourself. It's not we're not one of those podcasts where we try to tear people down. We want to uplift people, so that's what we all about.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was back in Chicago past weekend. It was just a short trip in and out. I'm living out in Phoenix now. I don't know if I told you all that. And I had a chance to come in on Sunday just for a day trip up and back. And I'll tell you what, I left Phoenix. It was almost 100 degrees. Ooh. I was in the pool and the jacuzzi, and I got off that plane in Chicago, and it was raining, and the Hawks hit me, and I had a flashback to 1991. Hey, Chicago, I'll catch y'all in a couple of weeks, man. It's a little too chilly right now for me. I got back to work and it's out again. So I've been out in the Valley of the Sun for about 20 years. And I can honestly say now my blood has thinned out on one of these guys. If it gets below 65, 68 degrees, I'm grabbing a coat. But much like you, during the pandemic, you know, everybody, you know, in the NCAA tournament got wiped out. The NBA season was put on hold for several months. All the Major League Baseball and everything was shut down. And, you know, Michael Jordan's Last Dance came out. Mm-hmm. So I started getting on some of these pods and radio interviews with Stacey King and Will Perdue and Cliff Levingston and BJ Armstrong and reminiscing about those old 90s days. See, we still think the 90s was 10 years ago. There ain't nobody telling us it's been 3 decades already.
Wow, that's crazy, right?
We were reminiscing like it was yesterday. And I started putting some of this stuff out on social media, you know, some of the stories and whatnot. And everyone's like, you should write a biography, man. All them cats you play with, and Jordan and Pippen and LeBron and then knowing Kobe in high school and AI. And so I said, well, I don't know the first thing about being an author, but I grabbed this guy. I don't know if you can see it. His name's Ben Gassy right on the bottom. He helped co-write this thing with me. And we started talking and sharing stories. He goes, but Scott, what happened before you hit the league? And that's when it got real. That's when it got raw. And I had to start talking about, you know, my upbringing in a house that I had a lot of domestic violence, verbal abuse, physical abuse. You know, your mom was getting beat on, your dad telling you ain't nothing, and you and your brother ain't gonna be nothing. And that was hard, man, to write it. So it took me 2.5 years because it was painful. It was you know, I was at North Carolina, like you said, Bobby, and Dean Smith knocked on my door, and one morning about 7:30 in the morning, I thought I had, messed up. I'm like, man, I must have missed a class. I'm gonna be running back and forth from the Smith Center to the golf course for the rest of the year. And he sat me down and said, "Yeah, your dad killed your mom," and turned the gun on himself. And it rocked my world, man. And I'll tell you, if I'd have been any place other than Chapel Hill with Coach Smith and the culture that he created there, and the way they wrapped me in that warm blanket of love and support, I wouldn't have made it. I would have given up on my goals of getting an education. I would have given up on my dreams of playing in the NBA. And I was very fortunate to be in the right place at a bad time. So I owe Coach Smith, my everything for keeping me on track.
Wow. And thinking about that, Scott.
Wow.
How you just expressed how Dean was with you guys as a unit, but also he cared about you guys off the court. And you don't see that as much going on now. And for him to say, you know what, I got you, and I know how I would have took that, Scott, and I'm pretty sure you took it the same way. What am I going to do now? I mean, I lost both of the people in my life that truly, I'm assuming cared about me as much as possible. I know your mom didn't have anything to do with your dad pulling the trigger. And It's like, wow, why me? Why me?
Wow.
Why me?
How was he, 19?
I was 19 years old. It was the first day of practice my sophomore year. You had the nerves and excitement about getting back on the court and the season and opening up, and then you kind of you're blindsided and hit with that. We knew that there was problems, and my mom had left my dad during my freshman year. She told me, I used to ask her all the time, like, well, why don't you just leave? And she said she wanted to get her babies out of the house first. She wanted to make sure we were far away and we were safe. And, I didn't realize at the time, I always grew up wanting to go to UCLA. That was my number one. That was my number one school. And I toted a Bruin yellow and gold, our blue and gold book bag since elementary school. And Coach Smith was real crafty, man. He invited my mother to come on my official recruiting trip with me. And we landed on a Friday afternoon, and she fell in love with the campus and the college atmosphere and the spirit of Chapel Hill. And by Sunday afternoon, she was telling me to tell Coach Smith that I should come to school here. So I've been trying to give back with this book, but with some of the proceeds from the book going to the domestic violence centers and Chapel Hill. There's one right off of campus called the Compass Center. Had a book signing there, went really well, raised some funds for that. And then here in Phoenix, where I'm living, I'm working with Chrysalis, and they had house battered women and children. So I feel good about trying to get this book out to do some good. And everyone kind of was asking, well, why 30 years later? Why 30 plus years later? And I just kind of have to tell them it was painful to talk about. It was shameful to talk about. And I want people to know that, heck, if Scott Williams can make it, I wasn't like you, Marcus. I was an average basketball player. And if I could still, make it through that dramatic experience, and now with the help of a lot of people, that people need to be able to know that they can do the same thing if they open up and they share with a confident or a teacher, a cousin, or uncle, somebody that can help them through a dramatic time like that they can go on and accomplish their goals and their dreams as well. Because I'm not special. I was very fortunate that I had some good people around me. And Coach Smith always used to say, we had an offensive thought for the day, which might be like make the extra pass on offense, right? So, and a defensive thought might be something like sprint back and build out. But the most important thing, and this has to go with what you were talking about, was a thought for the day. And it had nothing to do with no basketball. Right. It had to do with us being better people and more well-rounded people in life. And one of the ones that was a reoccurring theme over my 4 years there was it's never too late to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me through all these many years. And when I close my eyes tight at night and I can still hear Coach Smith's voice talking to me, that's one of the ones that kept coming back to me. So that's why I wrote this book. And I'm happy with some of the responses that I've been getting on social media and people sending me emails at throughthefirebook1@gmail.com. Any listeners out there that might want some help or resources or just an ear to talk to. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back to our global community and do some good.
Man, Scott,
that's big,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And also, Scott, we're going to definitely keep talking about, what's in the book and all that. But I want to know, when you came out of high school, your senior year, right, what actually made you pick North Carolina? Was it you watching Michael Jordan growing up? You knew that you had an opportunity to meet him because I'm pretty sure y'all had a tight network that you guys always, the alumni base always came together every year, what have you. You saw Mike, James Worthy, all these legends coming back, but also UCLA. Like you said, you was thinking about going to UCLA. They had a lot of legends that went there as well.
Yes, indeed, Marcus. And it was, the flashback to, kind of that before 86, that coming out of that summer of 85, my stock, as they would say, skyrocketed. I played it for about a month straight of just AAU hoops and select hoops with everything from Nike's camp to Harold Garfinkel's 5-star. There was a tournament out in Las Vegas, and I was just a kind of a small fish in a big pond in Los Angeles. All of a sudden, I went from that to being one of the top 10 recruits nationally. So I had guys like Bill Cosby calling me, and Tommy Lasorda, James Worthy, who was my idol at the time, growing up in SoCal, being a huge Lakers fan. Talking about all these different programs and why I should consider their coaches or their schools. So one of the things I think I mentioned was Coach Smith being so crafty about inviting my mother. One, that was huge. He got my mom on his side from the very beginning. And when I would speak to Eddie Fogler, who did the bulk of the recruiting, when I speak to Coach Smith, we talked a lot about other things outside of basketball. And I never had those conversations with some of the the other 4 finalists that I went with. They all, kind of promised, playing time or shots or, whether I would start. And Coach Smith never brought that type of thing up. He promised me, 2 things. You get a great education and you'll leave a better person. And that was it. And I was like, that's
huge. And
I was like, okay, you do those things for me. I'll handle the rest on the court. Because I was a confident player at that time. I wasn't exactly Dylan Brooks, but I was cocky enough to know that I can compete with guys if I'm given a fair opportunity. And I felt that I would get a fair opportunity, because if he was promising me minutes and someone else shots, or someone else would start, he was doing the same things to other people, right? So I was just like, okay, it seems like a level playing field, and I can handle that.
Wow, that's huge. And let me ask you something, though. We didn't even touch on his state championship, though. You was the state champ and a McDonald All-American.
Yeah,
we went straight to the
I'm
college.
very proud of my high school basketball team. I haven't gotten you guys a copy of the book yet, because this has all come about real quickly. But in the center of the book, I put some pictures in there that were dear to me. And one was of my 1986 state championship basketball team. And it wasn't me hosting the trophy or cutting down the nets. It was because I wanted to include all my teammates, because we were such a tight-knit group. And that's why we won the championship. Probably had a better team in 1985. But we had a couple cats that were trying to get scholarships. And instead of playing the team game, when it came down to this, the state championship tournament and the Southern Section championship finals, that all of a sudden we stopped playing the way we had been playing all year, and we got beat. And I was always impressed with, even though, I might have been the star of the team, everybody bought into the team concept. And it had to do with my high school basketball coach, Mike Lowe. Throwing him a big shout out, because he taught me early on the way Coach Smith taught me after that, the fundamentals of basketball, the emphasis of team play, the camaraderie of building a brotherhood with your teammates on the floor. he worked us like, like sometimes we wanted to, cuss him out in the locker room after some of the hard practices, but it got us mentally tough and ready to face any obstacle that we would, in crunch time, that we would stick together. We were like glue. Nothing would break our bond. Coach Smith did the same thing. Phil Jackson did the same thing in Chicago. We all knew Jordan was getting the credit, right? But if we all played our part, we played our roles, we could all shine in some of that spotlight as well. And that was the thing that was most impressive about Michael. He never separated himself from the team, even though he was probably the biggest superstar on the planet. I always felt like he was part of the group, whether it was playing cards or showing up at a restaurant and picking up a check. He couldn't do all the things that we could do, but he found a way to feel like he was, part of the group and not separate from what we had going on.
That's good to hear, Scott, because we hear Michael was a tyrant from what we heard, right?
Listen, now on that court, let me just tell you something. Now I get goosebumps when I talk about what it was like before he had a first championship. There wouldn't have been no letting Dennis Rodman go off to Vegas with Carmen Electra for 3 days in the middle of the season. That last stand thing, I laughed out loud when I saw that part, because I didn't know nothing about that. I said, not the cat, not 23, not the cat that I played with. Back over there, that picture there, man. That dude was thirsty for that ring. He had been gotten best by the Pistons 3 years in a row before I got there. Our training camp in 1990, before Jordan had a championship, was a war, and Phil Jackson let him go, and he was up in dude's face. I was in Chicago with Dennis Hopson, and they put Hop in front of Michael Jordan every day in practice, and I said it was the worst thing I ever saw in the NBA in my 15-year career, because MJ was like a beast the way he'd go at Hop. He'd get physical with him and talk trash with him, and Hop wasn't. Nobody was ready for that smoke. I'm not trying to put this on Hop, but nobody could have handled that smoke, and I think it hurt Hop's game after a long time. And you remember Dennis Hopson now. He led the nation in scoring coming out of Ohio State.
Bad man.
He was a bad man in the New Jersey Nets for 4 years before he got traded to Chicago. He was averaging about 18 points a game when he came in. And after 1 year, they had to let Hop go someplace else because Jordan kept beating him down so bad trying to get that first championship, man. And I always feel bad for Dennis about that. I got Dennis's number. I want to get him a copy of the book and tell him what I experienced as a rookie. Like I didn't know no different. I just like, man, this dude just goes hard. He is just wired different. And everything was competitive. Now, he got in my face a few times. I was a Carolina guy. He expected some, a little bit more from me. I'm like, dude, I'm giving you all I got, 23. Just 2.5 points and 2 rebounds, baby. You want to give me some more minutes and you want some more protection.
So now, Scott, you do your thing in high school. Who were some of the guys that was on that state championship team that you played against? Because California is so big. Who were some of the names that you probably know and be familiar with?
You guys might remember Stacey Ogman. He played in Atlanta for a while. He went up to Syracuse. Had a nice career there at Syracuse for the Orangemen. Earl Duncan was big coming out of SoCal. Trevor Wilson. I'm forgetting all the guys' names. Tracy Murray. Tracy Murray was 1 year behind me, but we Southern California, that 86, 87 years, we had a lot of cats that went on to play college ball, and I felt that helped me when I went to North Carolina. Power 5 school. We played the best. We took everyone's best shot every time we stepped on the floor. And when you play against strong competition, you're confident every time you step on the floor. And that really helped me. So, that Southern section of the CIF produced probably the highest quality, at least if I'm probably a little biased to say, but Gary Payton was up north. The Glove was doing his thing up there too. But we felt real good about Chris Monk, was another cat that I used to have to battle in some of the tournaments, and Izzy Washington slamming jam in the summertime. So we had some guys that could go. I remember John Williams and Chris Sandel. Yeah. Those guys were a few years in front of me. But that was the best high school basketball that I ever saw when I saw those guys go for the CIF championship. I came with Long Beach Poly and Crenshaw in 84. Well, God, that must have been 84, 83, maybe 84, I believe it was. Watching those guys bang heads against one another. So, we were blessed in Southern California. I don't know if you guys had a chance yet to see the movie that kind of a spinoff of what Nike did. I think it's called Air, with Sonny Vaccaro as the lead character. He played in that. Well, Sonny used to take care of a lot of us when I was in California. He was the Nike guy. Right. Became that friends. He actually came to my wedding in 1996 too. So Sonny and Pam, big shout out to the Vaccaro family. I really love those guys.
Yes, no doubt. Yeah, Sonny is a good dude. And now let's go back to the draft now. Draft night.
No. Can we skip that part?
Because some of our listeners are putting these questions out, so I'm just talking, I'm putting it down on the bottom. But they want to know, how did you feel on draft night? Did that, like, not getting drafted, did that put some little fire up under you to say, I'm gonna prove to people that they made a mistake?
Yeah, Marcus, I tell you, it was like getting kicked right in the man area. Because I had been told by a number of these analysts when I was watching these games, Williams is going to be a low lottery pick or, first rounder. And I was watching the draft with my college roommate, Jeff Denny, and my girlfriend, Fonzetta Badger. My brother was there. And so when the first round went by, my name wasn't called, dude. I was so embarrassed. It hurt. I went back to the back bedroom to watch the second round. I got out a pen and paper, and I wrote down everybody's name that was getting called and who team drafted them. And I, not knowing I wasn't going to get drafted in the second round either, but I had that list with me for a long time, and I said to myself, I'm determined to play longer than everybody on this list. And I was very fortunate. So let me jump back a minute. That I had a small window of opportunity as you're an unrestricted, non-drafted player to try to make a roster. And Michael Jordan was having a basketball game with a bunch of pro guys that he knew, and some of the guys from the Charlotte Hornets, which was only a 2-year-old franchise at the time. And I was able to get myself invited into that game. And I got on Jordan's team, and I was lucky because I don't know if you remember a guy named J.R. Reed. He was my teammate for 3 years at North Carolina. He left a year early to go pro, and Charlotte had drafted him, and he was in that game. And I got a chance to compete with Jay for 3 years. So he knew what my game was. He gave me a good, strong, physical game, banging down low, blocking shots, finishing hard and strong at the rim. And it made me look real good in front of MJ. So late in the game, I get a rebound. We're down 1. I'm on MJ's team. I get a rebound. I fire the ball back over to 23 in the corner, tongue out, about 40 minutes on the right baseline. He cans the game-winning jump shot. Crowd goes nuts. We walking out the arena. I'll never forget this. He jumps into this bright red Corvette. How he balled up in there, I don't know, at 6'6". Red midfield. And Fred tells the story that was told to me that Michael Jordan got on the phone with Jerry Krause, who you guys probably remember. Some of your listeners might be the general manager for the Chicago Bulls at the time, and said, hey, why don't you give Williams a tryout? And the rest is kind of history, because they invited me to come to Chicago and play on the summer league team that was out in Loyola Marymount out in California. Did well enough there to get the invitation to veterans camp. And there was 7 of us trying out for the only one and final spot on the roster. And I remember just trying to learn. They were putting in this new offense called the triangle. Tex Winter had come up with this thing, and it was nothing like anybody had ever seen, right? The plays were different, everybody moving, and it was reading, reacting, and to your own teammates and also to the defense. And it was very confusing, but I was very fortunate because Coach Smith didn't just roll out the ball to All-Americans. before basketball IQ was something that was thrown around very easily, just like today, the way it is, we'd have a lot of chalk talks and film sessions and break things down. Sometimes we were in there longer than we wanted, but he taught us time and score and movement and being able to read and react to things on the floor that might be separate from the play that was called. And that was something that gave me an edge over some of the other young guys that were also trying to learn this new system. So I was able to grab that last spot, and man, I held on to that, and I rode that to 3 championship rings my first 3 year in the league. And I kept those names off that list, y'all, until finally I had them all crossed off over 15 years, except for one cat. And I'm gonna let you guys try to guess who that is, who that might have been. And I'll give you a hint. He played at Oregon State. He was from Northern California. He's the only Hall of Famer from that 1990 draft class. And if you need one more, he goes by the nickname the Glove.
Gary Payton. Gary Payton.
That's right. The glove kept on going, man. I couldn't hang on no more.
He probably looking at you.
I'm finishing up with a young cat named LeBron James in Cleveland. They brought this 18-year-old hairball in from Brazil named Anderson Varejao that was running circles around my old ass. I couldn't keep up. And finally, I told the coach, I said, "Hey, you can let me go home now, whatever you please, because I'm older than my teammate's mother. And I know there's got to be something that says you can get your pension directly if you're older than your teammates." Miles, I went ahead and go ahead and release me, man. I'm going to take that check.
Man, that's a great story, man. Because just think if you didn't get that rebound and kick it out to Mike, because that's what Mike wants. Somebody to get that damn ball.
Something told me to try to throw my little jump hook up there, and I said, no. Go ahead and give it to the man selling all them sneakers over there on the right side.
Hey, man, that's a good twist, though, to not get drafted then to win 3 in a row. I think only Sam Cassell was able to come in as a rookie and win 2 in a row like you did 3, man.
Yeah, there's a small group of us that have won, their first 3 years in a row. Most of those dudes played back in the, at the Celtics back in the 50s and the 60s. I think there was about 6 teams in the league, so it was a little bit different back then. When they had run off whatever it was, 8 straight, something like that. Yeah, it's crazy times back then. But I was fortunate, I was blessed, and I write about this in my book Through the Fire that I almost messed up the opportunity to go to Chicago because I went down to Charlotte thinking it'd be easier to make that roster, seeing that they were a new franchise. They were struggling franchise. And I was in the state of North Carolina thinking, hey, they might have a little love for me just being that I'm just, 2.5 hours up the road. But I get down there, they failed me on my physical. And that afternoon's when I got on the plane to go to Chicago. So I almost screwed it up. But going to Chicago was the best thing. But not only winning the championship was great, but I played with pros. And I write about this in my book about guys like John Paxson and Bill Cartwright and Craig Hodges and, of course, Michael Jordan. Those guys were professionals. They weren't just, professional basketball players. They were professional about how they went across, being in the NBA and what it took to be a professional basketball player, make yourself valuable to the franchise off the court as well as on the court. So I did all that I could in Chicago. I was real proud of some of the charity work that I did in the city when I was there. I won the Charles Lubin Award for the team for some of the things we did for developing courts in and around the city. And that carried with me. When I went to another team, I knew how to help the young guys behind me become good in the locker room, get team chemistry, going out organizing team dinners on the road. Of course, I had the team's credit card. I wasn't picking up that check. But, I'd get guys to buy in. Now, we get everybody because sometimes got family on a road trip or something like that, guys. But we get 85% of the guys that show up for that free meal, double shrimp cocktail, big surf and turf, big bottles of wine, cigars in Portland, out the El Gaucho out there in Portland. You remember that spot, Marcus? That was the spot. So nobody was missing that. We run up a $10,000, $15,000 bill on the team, and everybody have a good time. But then we run off, 4 or 5 wins in a row. We get 10 wins in a calendar month. Those things are huge when you're trying to build something towards making the playoffs. Having that chemistry. Sometimes just because you have a team that's tight, like I did in Milwaukee, the camaraderie that we had was probably better. You know, the sum of the parts was greater than the whole because we were so off the floor. Game nights at home, you know, guys were, you know, wives versus the players and stuff like all the cheating be going on and stuff and Pictionary and all kind of stuff.
Pictionary.
It just led to good chemistry on the floor. I remember playing with guys like, you know, Glenn Robinson and Ray Allen. Didn't really like each other a whole lot, but got him to buy into that team concept. And we accomplished a lot. We were a game away from going to the NBA Finals in 2001, man. And I'll tell you, I was trying to get back there so bad because I hadn't been back to the finals since '93. I knocked Allen Iverson into the back into the following day. And I still say, had David Stern not suspended me from Game 7, we would won that series against the Sixers, y'all. I'm gonna take that to my grave.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't write about that in my book, but I was dog cussing David Stern for a long time after that. On top of suspending me, but you know, there's nothing better in sports, right, than Game 7. Those two words in sports is the best. And to have a suit in New York City take that from me after I was coming back off of bad back and working my way back into the play rotation. And to have them take that from me was painful. And on top of that, they hit me with a $50,000 fine too. My playoff was $47,000, and they hit me with a $50,000 fine. Like,
wow!
So they actually the postseason had to write a check for $3,000.
I was just going to say, so they actually take that money from the players when they fine you, though, huh?
Hey, at the time, I didn't miss it. Now I kind of missed that $50,000.
Hell yeah!
Hey, but I can't get that.
So Scott, man, we got some. We got some of our listeners, man. They wanna ask some questions, man. I want you to just talk about your book, really, but you know, some of them want to ask these questions, so I got to get them out.
Oh, okay. I'm reading this. Talk about playing with Allen Iverson. He really is a rock star, like players say. To be small and take the beating. Did you leave before they got to the finals? Yeah. So I played against. I'll start at the end of this. I played against when I was with Milwaukee. We were playing the Sixers. That game I got suspended, but for knocking Allen Iverson back about 6 feet as he tried to drive to the hole. So I had gotten 2 ticky-tack fouls in games 4 and 5, and I was determined the next foul I get, I'm going to earn. So poor AI got the brunt of some bad whistles. But I hated playing with Allen Iverson. Absolutely hated. I write about it in my book. I don't want to give it all away, but dude wasn't a team player. Dude wasn't a professional. That was the thing that I talk about in Chicago. Guys showed up for practice. They worked hard. They locked in on the scouting report. They knew what we were supposed to do. You know what we were supposed to do. How we were going to defend certain actions. AI didn't want no part of that. AI wanted to be an MVP. He wanted to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he didn't want to win a championship like the guys that I first talked about earlier in the show, and that didn't sit well with me. You know, getting on the team bus and reading out guys' salaries in the USA Today. You remember, Marcus, they used to put everybody's salary in the USA Today, right? This is before the internet got real popular, right? Yeah, so you got everything in the paper back in the day. And USA Today sports section, that's the first thing you grab when you are in a hotel room. Like, give me that USA Today sports section and find out what's going on in the league. You know, so he's reading out salaries and laughing at guys, you know, like Mark Davis because he's making a minimum, or complaining at me and Clarence Weatherspoon were making more than him. And you know, it's just like, you know, it just left a poor taste in my mouth. Now, I'm going to say this that I probably should have said in the book that I did. I heard he matured after I was gone, and that he started picking up some of that. But that whole, you know, practice, remember, you know, that sound bite of him talking about practice. How silly is we talk about practice? You know, that was him. They'd sit on the sideline. He'd feign an injury after he scored his 30 points. We getting blown out by 15 or 20. You know, he'd say, you know, he twist an ankle late in the ball game, limp off to the side, put a bag of ice on it, so he got to practice the next day, and then sit on a bike, not doing nothing, talking trash to the guys out there trying to work hard, get better. Those type of things just don't make for a good team. They don't make for good chemistry. I didn't appreciate it at the time. I am still getting riled up a bit. 27, 28 years later, I'm still hot about it. Allen Iverson, go pound sand. I don't respect him as a player back then. And I know a lot of guys that couldn't play the game, that are small, look at him and go, oh, he could, you know, I expect him because he go out there and take a beat. And no, hell no. He put us in jeopardy so many times trying to get his 3 steals, trying to get his easy buckets. going and throwing a body and the person getting the foul line, going 10 for 32 from the game. I'm like, I don't respect that. Sorry.
Wow.
Next.
Wow. So Scott, do you think Allen Iverson was the first of this new generation, what we're seeing of how players are really basically running the league or running their teams, and you see it all the time? Kids are not, these young guys are not playing. What they call it, the load management, and I can't do this. And I know when we were playing, we was like, if we can get out there, we playing. But with this generation, what do you see the difference from when you was playing until what you see now? When you was playing and what you see now?
Well, I sound like one of these old crusty guys every time I say it. They soft today, man. We played a physical game. No, NBA stood for no babies allowed. Especially if you were in any position. But if you were a 4 or 5, you better put on your hard hat and bring your lunch pail to the arena every day, because you knew it was going to be a war. You go against Charles Oakley and Mason and Rick Mahorn, and that's just a few cats in the East. And out West, Karl Malone, and they had some guys out there ready to knock the snot bubble in your nose too. So you got to be ready to perform. Back in the day, there were no load management. Jordan didn't take no nights off because it was the 4th game in 5 nights, and we in Cleveland. You came out and we took cortisone shots in the knees so you could play. I remember playing with my ligaments torn in my finger. You buddy taped them. You have surgery and missed 6 to 8 weeks. You went out there and you played. Obviously, salaries are different. Guys are thinking about, they're making. I think you step in the league now, you make damn near $10 million a year. Some guys making 60. Things were different. We didn't have too many guys. I don't think there was a guy making $2 million. Back in the day, I remember CONCACAF bought that big first guy that got that $10 million, 5-year, $10 million contract. Everybody's hair went on fire. Like, oh, exactly. I remember there was a cat in Chicago. He hit a shot from the I think it was a half court or 3/4 court. Won himself $1 million during one of our timeouts. I'm like, dude just made more than I made in 3.5 years in the league.
Wow.
Without having to bang on nobody. So the league was different. The money was different. But we loved it. We loved being out there and competing and playing and winning a championship. And I think now guys worry about their Q rating, their social media, how many followers they got, the endorsement deals, everything that ain't got nothing to do with winning a championship seems like it comes before winning a championship. And that's the only reason I say I like this time of the year. I'm a huge NBA fan still. But this time of the year is when I can appreciate it, because they start playing a little bit. The guys starts to matter. Winning the championship starts to matter more than some of that other stuff that they load manage for 82 games a year. It just doesn't sit real well with a guy, old school guy like me.
Mm-hmm. Bowman Williams, he asked you a question. He say, the 1991 NBA Finals was epic with Magic versus Michael. What's your memories of that? That team was so fast and so quick. That Jordan switch hands show in the air and show your reaction was wild. That was a regular move, though.
That was well. Listen, I don't know, because that's that stage, right? So, Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson. The NBA Finals. Probably, Magic had stolen that torch from Bird as the most popular or best player, probably the best player in the league, because he had won the championship. He had the multiple championship. Jordan was probably the most popular, most talented player by 91. Safe to say that. To see those cats go up against each other and have a front row seat for it. And I was at half court, loafing back on defense, as it might be. So I had the bird's eye view of him going down the lane. I was right at center court. And he went up with the right and brought that thing down and floated a little bit more, got it around Sam Perkins and laid that bad boy in. I was a fan. Forget being a teammate for a minute. I was a fan. Put my hands in the air, looking around the stadium. I'm like, what did I just see? My eyes got wide as saucers. And I had seen him do some brilliant things in practice. And at the time, in the moment, that was so special. So, being on the floor against a team that I had idolized, growing up in Southern California, Magic and James Worthy and Byron Scott, and they had this young player in Vlade Divac, and going and banging up against him. But I remember taking a charge on Magic and blocking one of Magic's shots, and kind of being one that I'd worked my way from an undrafted free agent, couldn't get out of my sweats for 5 games in a row early in the season, to being one of the first or second bigs off the bench, going in with Cliff Levingston to get Horace or get Bill Cartwright out of the game, and finding myself on the court with these dudes, man, having to go, okay, stop fanboying, go out here, do your job, try to win a championship, and bring one home for the first time in the city of Chicago was a special moment. And I'm telling you, if I had hair on the back of my neck, it would be raised right now, because those are the moments that you take away the points and the rebounds and all those kind of things. But winning a championship and coming back to Chicago and having all those people greet us when we landed in that rally at Grant Park, it's just a sea of people. People said 500,000. I don't know if it was that many, but it felt like 1 million to me. I was on top of the world. And I describe in my book, another one, Through the Fire, shameless plug, find it on Amazon.com, that you can't recreate that. And no offense to my children, but everyone told me that having a baby be the greatest feeling in the world, and being a father has been the best thing I've ever done in my life, even more than playing in the NBA. I'm so proud of my children, Benjamin and Ava. But for that one moment, man, when that clock is ticking down and you've just done something that you got 29 other teams wishing they could have done, all them cats and you had to battle your way through, all the injuries, the shoulder dislocating over the course of the season, and trying to pop it back in practice so the team wouldn't know about it, so they wouldn't cut your butt on their non-guaranteed contract. Yeah, I remember in the championship celebration coming back, I had my hand out the window, pop my shoulder out, trying to celebrate. That's how bad the shoulder was. And playing through all that, that was it. I sat down in that Laker, not Laker locker room, but the visiting locker room there at the Forum, and cried. How far I had come from an undrafted player to winning a championship in 9 months.
Your first year.
Yeah, and people's family were there, and they were jumping around and hugging one another. And I wish my mom had been there with me. And the tears, it was tears of joy, but also some pain, because I wanted to be, I was a little envious of some of my teammates that they had their folks there, and I didn't have my mom with me to witness that, because that was kind of our shared dream of winning an NBA championship. And but it was special with that group of guys. And something I'll never forget. I'm one of these guys that watches those, and I have insomnia. I'll put on the YouTube videos from all of those championship days and fall asleep to those.
Scott, one more time.
Let me get a question.
Wait.
Go ahead.
One more time, Scott. Plug your book, man, again, so our listeners can, make sure and where to find it. Make sure.
Yeah. So it's, oh gosh, the glare's coming on in here. I'm trying to angle it just right, but it's called Through the Fire: a memoir of trauma, loss, basketball, and triumph. And it's available on Amazon.com. You can get it in Kindle, paperback, or hardcover. You can also, for my loyal Barnes and Nobles group out there, I didn't realize it's a loyal Barnes and Noble. You can also get it on BarnesandNoble.com as well in paperback. So, but I'm coming back to Chicago. I'm going to be doing a book signing around the pre-draft camp for the NBA Players Association, May 17th. So, you can kind of watch my social media. You can find me on Facebook, Scott Williams, it's simple, or Instagram at Scott Will, WILL 42. So stay tuned for that as well. Somebody would like to come out and get a personalized autographed copy and buy the book. Like I say, trying to do a lot of good for the Domestic Violence Center. Proceeds from each book go to help some really good causes.
Man,
hey, let me ask you this though before we get out of here. I know if we get out of here soon, but Pippen, man, nobody ever.
I got nothing to do all day, guys. I got no place to be and all day to get there, so I can do this forever. Let's keep it going.
All right,
Pippen, man. It seems as though Pippen is not feeling appreciated through all of this stuff. What do you think is going on with Scotty? I know Scotty.
Yeah, it's one of the things that that really kind of hurt my heart. This kind of back and forth feud with Michael and Scotty after The Last Dance came out. I never saw any animosity to Michael while we were there. Now, listen, I'm telling you, he was tough to play for. At times, he was so demanding. But if you were a professional and if you worked hard and you were prepared and everything else about being a pro, you didn't have any problems with Michael. He realized you weren't going to be Michael Jordan. But you better be ready to go and locked in on the game plan. locked in on film session and practice and not, messing around. If you were just about that NBA lifestyle, right? You just wanted the cars and the clothes and the women and the fame that came with it, and you weren't ready to work when it was time to work in all phases, you're going to have a problem with Michael. So I never saw that out of Scotty because Scotty was a competitor. Scotty would compete. So I never saw any of that. And this year I thought was going to be so special. I thought we'd have a 30-year anniversary for the three-peat because 93 was the first three-peat, as I like to say it, the first dance, or rather. That we'd have a special season and get back together and kind of get the band back together again, as they say in the music industry. But that ain't happening. So, doing the pod with you guys has been good. And some of the other ones I've been able to go on and reminisce because, Stacey King and I are still tight. And, he's still working with the Bulls. And I know they're doing some things to kind of bring guys in individually. But it would have been nice to have the group back together for one big celebration, kind of be able to tip our hats, look up at the banner like we did after the 20-year celebration of the first championship. I thought the 30-year celebration of the third championship would have been special.
Damn.
Hey, those guys are Hall of Famers, man. I stay in my lane. I hope that it works itself out. I feel that it will one day. I just don't know when that day is going to be.
Yeah, because you can see it like on the court. It seemed like it wasn't no animosity between the two. It seemed like they enjoyed playing with each other.
Yeah, Marcus, I probably didn't answer that question very well. I'm starting to ramble a little bit. Maybe I need another cup of coffee or something to settle me down from the tea that I've already had. They had me up in North Carolina at 5 o'clock this morning doing a TV show out there.
Oh, okay.
So I've been kind of going nonstop. But playing with Scotty was wonderful. I love – he was one of these cats that made you feel welcome, all inclusive. Now, he was hard on me as a rookie a little bit. And I write about that. Him and Horace, throwing balls at me when I'm trying to rack the balls or taking them up on the road and about the 50th row of the stadium's there. And I go running up there and try to get the ball and bring it back. As Phil Jackson, come on, rookie, get down here, But they were quick to share a laugh. Quick to invite you out to go out in Chicago at night. We go down to Russian Division, act like fools, and hang out down at Gibson's and some of the other spots. We go down to Cotton Club or wherever we would hang out. Scotty would be like, "Yeah, come on, Tank, let's go." So I always felt real welcome and part of the team. He was an unselfish basketball player. If he saw you had an advantage, he'd give you the ball. Michael might think about it twice. I don't know if Williams can hit that 16-foot baseline jumper yet. Let me go ahead and take it in here to the hole and jump over some people. But Scotty would always share the basketball. He had great court vision. He'd help you out on defense. You try to bang up against some of the cats. He had them long, strong arms and hands, and they'd get this ball hand on deflections and steals. I love competing with Pip. And he had a play against the Knicks where you guys will remember Charles Smith had the ball. We were down 0-2 to start the season in 93, and we came back and won 2 in Chicago, tie it up. But we had to go back to New York where they had won 27 in a row. And Charles Smith got the ball down low. And, sometimes great things happen to you in sports, and you always remember for them. And then sometimes, some bad things that happen to you in sports, and you always remember. I always felt sorry for Charles Smith because he had to go up against Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, blocking his shots, stripping him the ball away, and
that play they stripping them in the paint. They're
stripping him, kept blocking him. It was like, damn, make it stop.
Make it stop.
You guys they were like two Dobermans on a T-bone, and Charles Smith was the T-bone. And I remember running on the floor and picking up Pip at the final horn, and just the joy in his face of what he had accomplished. He knew that he had bigger moments to come after that, obviously, but that was the guy that I always remember in Chicago. The love of doing that for his team. It wasn't a basket that he scored. One of his greatest moments was that defensive play. And I just think that this summed up what Scotty was really, truly all about. I know he had that 1 second. The year later, he wouldn't go back in the game when Phil Jackson drew up that play for Tony Kukoc. Yeah. But that wasn't Scotty. And all of us knew that. I mean, and I remember that day. That was a rough one. My girl's car got stolen after that game in Chicago.
Real?
And Cartwright was crying in the locker room. And, it was a wild scene there in Chicago. But we knew that that wasn't the Pip we knew. He had a kind of an out of body experience. The guy we knew was all about team first and doing whatever it took for the Bulls to be successful. That's the guy that I choose to remember.
Right.
That's what's
well,
up.
you know, he probably felt some kind of way though, man, that Mike was gone, and here it is. You drawing up a play for Tony, and I thought I was the next in line since Mike was gone.
100%. I talked about a little bit in the book that he felt he earned that right. He earned that
right.
And Marcus, you speak on it like that because that he had earned that moment to take that last shot. And he probably would have got fouled, whatever he would have had to do. But in all honesty, Phil knew that I had this moment earlier in the season up in Milwaukee. Pip's our best passer. He knew he was going to surely get the ball inbound to Tony, and Tony had already delivered that shot earlier in the season. So I get where Phil was coming from, but I also get where Scotty was coming from too. The only problem with Scotty was he probably should have been able to calm himself down quick enough to say, okay, let's just go forward with the play that's drawn up, because you could see Phil wasn't going to change the play call. So that was I guess if you could say I don't know, he played 17, 18 years in the league, and one little hiccup, I ain't holding him to that.
Mm-hmm.
No, Scotty was to me, I tell people all the time, Scotty was a bad man, and he needs his just due, just like everybody else that we talk about that played basketball with a superstar. He was definitely, I'm going to say it, he was definitely Robin, with Mike being Batman. But who was your GOAT? Like, we hear this GOAT conversation all the time, Scott. Is it LeBron James? Is it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Is it Wilt Chamberlain? Is it Michael Jordan? Who is your GOAT?
I write about. I hate to give away too much of my good stuff in the book, but
man.
I write about it because I'm one of only 4 players to ever play with both Michael Jordan and LeBron James, right? So I kind of have and LeBron obviously is still out there doing his thing, and when I was playing with second year, dude couldn't hit a jump shot, right? Now watching him last night, knocking big jumpers in the fourth quarter, matching up against Chef Curry, it was like, it's great to watch those guys because, I like to think now, I'm not going to take any credit for this, but I like to think when I was on that plane and he was asking all those questions about Mike and Scotty, he was the closest guy that I played with from day one to the day that I walked out of the league that was competed the way Mike did. Now, he didn't have a fire to want to embarrass an opponent the way Mike did, but he was all about trying to get it done in any way that he possibly could with his skill set. My greatest of all time is Michael Jordan, and that is not a knock on LeBron. I am not knocking that. He's not a young man anymore, but not knocking that man because he gets it done. And the four championships now, knocking on the door, maybe getting a 5th one this year, leading the league and scoring. I don't think that was ever MJ's goal. Obviously, he wouldn't retire to play baseball for 2 years had it been. I think he wanted to win championships, and he passed the ball to guys like Steve Kerr to knock down game-winning shots, relied on guys like Scottie Pippen to help him out defensively and offensively. So, I don't want to say that neither one had the capability of playing either style. All I'm saying is, for me, if I got the ball and I, as a coach, and want to get it to one of my players to deliver in a final moment, I'm going to go give it to Michael Jordan every time. And that's having watched Kobe since he was a high school player at Lower Merion when I was playing in Philadelphia 76ers, LeBron James, growing up watching Magic Johnson. Some people say he's the GOAT, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, listening to simulcast with Chick Hearn when I was supposed to be studying. I had it down low, in my room on this little FM, AM. It wasn't even an AM FM. It was an AM radio. Listen to the games with the antenna back in the day. So I didn't watch a lot of cats that they consider the greatest of all time. Been fortunate enough to be around the NBA, basketball. And Michael's just got something the greats of the game. I'm not talking about Hall of Fame. I'm talking about the greatest of the Hall of Famers have that I don't see in those other cats.
Dion Hoop Page, he keeps talking about this, so he wants to know. You got to say something about Johnny Red Kerr because he keeps putting it out here. So talk about what Johnny Red Kerr meant to you.
Yeah, Red was great. Here's a guy that coached the Bulls, started the franchise here in Phoenix where I'm living now at the Suns. He was everything to the NBA. I remember him welcoming me to Chicago. He appreciated me. He glorified me probably sometimes when, like I said, at 2.5 points and 2 rebounds, maybe didn't deserve as much airtime from Red that I got. But he respected the hard hat lunch pail mentality of myself and Horace Grant, some of the other bigs on the Bulls, some of the dirt work that we would do, setting the picks, running the floor, shrinking the defense down, all the unsung things that don't show up in a stat sheet. Red never missed to point out and praise me for, and I'm always very appreciative of that. Says, WGN, back then, it wasn't no NBA TV. You couldn't get, every game on direct TV. We and what they were doing down in TNT in Atlanta were about the only, signals that went out all over the country. So I have people in Portland to this day that were watching those games and listening to Red Kerr that you probably think I'm a better player than I really was because Johnny Red was pumping me up behind that microphone. So I'm very appreciative of all the things that Red did for the NBA landscape, but also in the city of Chicago. He meant so much to the city of Chicago and to me personally that I miss Red.
Yeah, Red Kerr was definitely a legend in Chicago. He went to the University of Illinois as well, so I got a chance to meet him as well. But Scott, we don't see what you just was talking about a lot. I heard the word role player, right? We don't see, we watch everybody and everybody wants to score. They want to score. They want to put that ball in the hole. You only have one basketball. Why is it that this generation, and I don't know, I'm trying to put my head around it, why that everyone wants to shoot long 3-pointers. They want to score all these points and nobody wants to be, I want to say it, the loonies, the loony, because, Kevin Looney is balling just like what you was just talking about. I'm going to do all the dirty work. I'm going to get the rebounds. I'm going to set screens. Why is it not like that anymore?
Yeah, Steph Curry done ruined the game. I say that affectionately because I remember Steph. I played with his daddy Dale in Milwaukee, and Steph was just a little kid that we'd have to make sure the ball. He'd want to run around on the floor and shag the balls and pass the play. We had to make sure he'd get up underneath our feet or get hit in the head with the ball. Or, him and his brother Seth out there running around. Now these guys out there dropping 50 in the playoffs. That just freaks me out. Shooting from damn near half court like it's wet. Turning around and doing a little shimmy thing he does before the ball even goes in the net, like he knows it's good. Steve Kerr, another former Bull and teammate of mine in Chicago. I'm happy for what those guys have been able to accomplish over the many years that they've been together. But that style of play, man, I tell you, I miss the days of working it inside, playing inside out through the big fellas down low. These guys are so talented. They're taught these skills that, I wasn't level to dribble the ball twice when I was growing up, in elementary and high school. They want the big guys toting that basketball up and down the floor. Now I'm watching guys like the Joker at 7'2", bringing the ball up. And this year the offense has a point center, knocking down threes, shooting 40%, just torching my sons with his footwork down low too. But he's balling out. But it's a different mentality. Shooting 33s and a half during the regular season is something that I think far too often. But this whole 3 is better than 2, and the mid-range game is gone, and that's a bad shot in basketball. I don't believe it. I think the Suns two-balled the Clippers. Now they were missing their two best players, but they were shooting 70, 65, 70% in some of the halves in that series by knocking down open mid-range jump shots. You guys got Durant and Booker, knocking those shots down. I still think it's a good shot in basketball at the right time. And the three is a good shot in basketball at the right time. I think they shoot too many of them at the wrong time. These coaches just live with it. I'm glad I'm not a coach anymore. I probably would had a heart attack at some of these shots I see fired up for guys that, sometimes don't even hit the rim. You go, you got to be kidding me. But anyway, I don't. It's not as pleasing to the eye to me. I don't. Obviously, my skill set would not have flourished in today's game. I would have had to retool everything that I was taught about being a 4, being a 5. But I'm glad the playoffs are here, so we see a different style, a more physical style, maybe more of a attack the basket than we'd see, like I say, 33s and a half. Now he might shoot 30 for the game. Don't get me wrong, but you probably won't see 30 in any of these halves.
But nobody's going to beat Golden State at their own game, and I think that's what's happening around the league. Everybody's trying to be copycats because, like you always allude to, and all you guys that play in the NBA, it's a copycat league. But only one team can really do that. So we're gonna see.
Yeah, you got guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I think they're 1 and 2 for made 3-point shots in the playoffs down the history of the playoffs, rather. And you're right. Steve Kerr has his assistants on that staff have utilized the talents of his personnel. And can I back up just 1 second? Because I think when we talk about Chicago, one thing that we kind of missed out on was Phil Jackson. And Phil, I write about in my book. We ain't tight. I ain't talked to the dude in 30 years. But
for real?
And not because there's any animosity, but we just were never tight. I never had the relationship with him that some of the older guys did. I was always a younger guy. I felt he was always pounding on me. And I go, what did I do? I only played 6 minutes last night.
Exactly.
He rolls downhill, but damn, bro, give me a break every now and again. They go yell at George or Pax. I get that, but damn. Can you get Stacey King and Will Perdue every now and again? Give them a ton lashes. So he ain't coming over to my house for dinner, and I ain't going over to his. But one thing I can appreciate is that he always, and I'm not going to say just for me, I'll say all the cats, found a way to maximize our strengths while minimizing our weaknesses. And it took me a while to appreciate that until after I got out of Chicago. And some of these coaches have a system and say, you fit your game to my system. And I always thought Phil Jackson was flexible enough inside that triangle offense to make your game shine in his system while minimizing some of the things you didn't do well. John Lucas, who I love, but had me playing out there on the wing, ISO'd while they played 3-man basketball on the left side of the floor, and tell me to go in there and crash in there and get him an offensive rebound. That's not my game. Yeah, they call me King, bro. You can hear that about my nickname. I'm down here supposed to be moving people around. Here I am knocking the computer screen, getting so excited. Moving people around, setting screens, gaining an advantage, elbow and knee, and everything else I got to do to cheat to try to get you an offensive rebound. I can't go running there for 27 feet and try to get you one. I ain't fast enough for all that. So it just made me appreciate Phil for putting me in good spots to look good while I was in that Chicago Bulls uniform, and not saying do the things that you can't do was special.
Well, so she asked the same question. You just answered a lot of it,
but the end part,
the meat and potatoes. Are they making much to do with this Phil Jackson Black Lives Matter?
Oh yeah, I just that just came on my radar late last week that he said the league is too woke now, and I in a way that made me go, no wonder I ain't been over his house in 30 years. Like I think Scotty came out and called Phil racist.
He said it.
He kind of backtracked off of that some, and I'll say the same thing. I never, for one moment, ever thought Phil Jackson was right. Again, I write about this in my book. I never, for one second, thought that Phil was a racist individual. I just think with these statements, he's saying this to fit a narrative that he believes, and that to me is the sad part of it all, because he's not taking the time to understand why were guys in the bubble protesting and supporting Black Lives Matter, because of all the injustice that was hitting the Black community at the time. And that is small-minded and short-sighted on Coach Jackson's part. I got no apologies. I'll make no apologies for the man on that.
That's what's up.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Here go another question.
My father who...
Oh, I'm sorry. My father who's watching told me to ask you about Tex Winter, Johnny Bach, and Jimmy Clemens. Give them their flowers. I like that. Thank you for, was that Mrs. Jones? Yeah. So, yes, of course. I talked a little bit about Tex Winter. And I left this out of the book, but Tex tried to fight me one day in practice. My rookie year, Tex mastermind that offensive, the triangle offense that Phil Jackson put in, and I wasn't playing a lot, early in my rookie year, so I had to find a way to get cats, in practice to play me like they play in game minutes. Because not everybody was like Jordan, right? Everybody bring it as hard throughout the entire practice. There was parts they wanted to coast. Well, I couldn't afford that. So, and I couldn't really, worry about going at Stacy and Will Purdue. I knew they'd play hard, but we didn't play against one another in practice. We always played starters versus the subs. So I needed Cartwright and Horace Grant to give me good game style minutes. So I would always learn that if you hit Cartwright, give him a cheap shot and hit him around his hips. He had the bad hips, where he run kind of, like a wildebeest, right? So if you hit him around his hips, he'd get all pissed off, and then he'd start playing a little harder, and that's what I needed. And with Horace Grant, I just talk trash to Horace, give him a little chest bump, get in his face, talk a little trash to him, and that would get him going. I tell him, Clemson wasn't SHIT, and North Carolina, we'd own you. Beat your butts. And that would get Horace going. Well, one time, Tex had stopped practice, but I was still jawing with Horace under the basket, and I didn't hear Tex start to want to do his teaching. And I was talking over him with Horace, and he come walking up on me, talking about, you want to be a player or you want to be a horse's ass? And he got his fist balled up. And I went, I think Coach's going to take a sick swing on me. So I took a step back, and I told myself, I'll take one back, but I ain't taking two back. I hope somebody gets to this old man and stops him, because I don't want to have to drop him here on this court. We practice at a health center back there, right? I'm thinking, one, they're gonna cut me before he hits the ground. And two, I might go to prison for killing this old man. So thank goodness Phil Jackson, he grabbed me and spun me. He came out my blind side, spun me around, and got all of my face. Told me to leave court. And I said, well, leave practice. I said, well, I'll leave the court, but I ain't leaving practice, because I still figured if I left practice, they still were gonna cut me. Right. But yeah, Tex was fiery though, right? Like you didn't want you messing up while he was trying to teach. So he was fiery, and Johnny Bach was the same way. He had Scottie Pippen and Horace and Michael Jordan. He was the master of the defense. He had those guys flying all over the court, and Bill Cartwright was out there gouging people's eyes out and breaking people's wrists with his hard fouls. So, defensively had us ready to go. And Jim Clemens, he was that one assistant coach, the young guys that we would go and talk to, right? Like, why aren't we playing more? Well, why are we doing stuff? And he would be always ones to talking us off the ledge when our canaries would come off their perch rather. So, I got all the respect for Coach Clemens. I probably got bent his ear a few times, because I would always sit right next to Coach Clemens on the bench. I wanted to be the closest player coaching staff, and I couldn't get no closer at the field for Jim Clemens, so I'd always be in his ear the entire time. So they was very patient with me, and as a young player taught me divide my time, keep my confidence up. And like I said, a lot of those things that I got from that coaching staff and from those players early on propelled me to a 15-year career. Because it wasn't talent. I'd like to say here and tell you it was all talent, but it really wasn't. It was a combination of being a hard worker, a little bit of talent, but knowing how to be a professional.
So, Scott, who did you say you wrote the book with?
The guy's name is Ben Guest,
Okay.
and he's an author himself, and he was looking to write a book on basketball, wanted a little help with some philosophy terminology for the book that he was writing. And as a result, I said, well, I'll help you with yours if you help me with mine. And we have since become pals as a result of this 2.5 year long process. And, you know, I had to put it down a lot, you guys, because like I said, it was painful. It wasn't easy. It's not a long book. It's a pretty easy read. My old eyes, you can see I got these readers on just so I could see with the monitors. I always hate reading books because it's small prints, tight together. I get headaches real easy. And I think the people that want it on Audible probably experience some of the same things. But I'm telling you, buy the book. It is reader friendly. Any person that has picked it up, the only criticism I get is they want more. And I go, that's not a bad thing. You know, I read it in 2.5 hours. I picked it up. I never put it down. I went to use the bathroom once. I came back and I finished it. You know, I go, well, that's not a bad thing. I'll take that. You know, my first time trying to write a book, you know, better than say, hey, I picked it up. I wrote 25 pages. It sucked. I never picked it up again. You know, I would hate for somebody to tell me that. So, you know, everyone's saying, well, we want more stories. I like the Tex Winter story. I told you that's not in the book, or, you know, some of the things that talk about with LeBron James and, you know, the Dennis Hobson stories. I have more of those, but I never wanted to make any of my teammates feel uncomfortable in any type of way. I wanted to be truthful and honest. It's not a book. I'm telling stories about, you know, Michael Jordan, you know, doing something that was nefarious or any of that type. That stuff is between, it stays in the locker room as far as I'm going. If anybody's trying to write a book, to make a buck, to do that's just wrong. It's like stealing from your teammate's locker, and it's just codes you don't break. Right. And I feel as though my book is honest, it's truthful, it's about me. I think there's maybe 2 pictures of my teammates in it that are special to me. I'm not trying to write the book about Michael Jordan to sell Michael Jordan. You know, that's his legacy. Let him talk about his own legacy. I talk about what he meant to me as a player, how he helped get me started in this league, and that's enough.
Well, who is this? Who is this guy, Scott, named Kelly Cole?
Yes. So Kelly Cole's a brother that I again stumbled upon that has been instrumental helping with this final stages. You know, the writing side, Ben does a great job. Everyone says how well the book is written. You know, I kind of tell the stories of Ben, and then he writes it up, and then we tweak it together. Kelly's Cole and books for athletes for any other pro guys out there, anybody that's an athlete that would want to write a book would be somebody that I would recommend. He can do soup to nuts, but he helped me with the final stages of getting it on Amazon, working with the cover art, how the book would be formatted. Like I said, you know, the larger font, the little bit more space between the lines. Those are all the things that he helped tweak. You know, he helped and was very patient with me because I was like, no, change this, change that. You know, make the rings larger, make the font bigger. You know, make that. You know, so all those little. You know, I don't like the cover. It's too bright. It's too. You know, it's. And he's like, no, Scott, trust me on this red. You're gonna love it.
That's
so
cool.
it has been well received. So some of the things that I asked for, he did, and some of the things I asked for, he didn't do. And as a result, it's been very popular. So he stuck me through those final stages. I owe him a lot of credit. So thank you, Mr. Kelly Cole.
And that's him right there. You see him? That's him. That's him right there at the bottom.
I'm not seeing that on my screen here, but yeah.
So Kelly.
He wrote in the question.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I see it now.
Yeah. So that's
Kelly's a good brother. I had my first signing. He lives in, I believe it's Virginia, and I had my first book signing in Chapel Hill, and he drove all the way up there to be with me. So I mean, that's how dedicated he is to his clients.
Man, that's awesome.
That's
man.
big, man.
Good job, man. So some of our listeners want to know also, Scott, before we get up out of here, talk about the 1986 McDonald All-American game. Who were some of the players that played in it? Because I know it was like right before me, You know, so I
Now,
do know
Nick
some of the
Anderson
players.
was in that game, wasn't he?
Derek Coleman, Nick Anderson,
Yeah, we had some players, Terry Mills, Pete Chilcutt. We had some guys on that squad. Unfortunately, I never shine in those types of situations. So I think I might have had 4 or 6 points in the damn game. I was like, oh my God. my first big national stage, I couldn't even get the damn ball in the basket. But it was a great experience. I mean, just to
and that game played in Detroit?
Yes, I believe that one. That was the year. I think it was in Detroit. And I'd never been to Detroit before, so it was a experience I think that you look forward to after your senior year is done, right? Like, you know, parade All-American, McDonald's All-American, being a Dapper Dan, the Round Ball Classic, the one that Sonny Vaccaro put on. Those were kind of the individual goals after winning a state championship that you wanted to achieve. A USA Today, I still got my plaque from being one of the top 5 players in the USA Today as well. And I'm real proud of that. You know, I tried to squeeze into that McDonald's All-American sweatsuit for as long as I could.
you still have it?
There'd be buttons flying off of that thing, but I was proud of those days, 100%.
Wow! You still have it? I don't even have mine. I don't even know where it's at. Wow!
Oh no, I don't got it no more. I had to give up on that one a couple years back. I think my son had it. My son's got that one somewhere, probably in the bottom of his dirty clothes pile, I'm sure.
Okay. So here go another one, man. He wants to talk about Kobe Bryant. Why is he not in the GOAT talk like he should? Love LeBron, but if they played in a 7-game series, I'm taking Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, man. I don't remember when I was rattling off names there if I mentioned Kobe, but I got him amongst the guys that should be along in the conversation. I've already picked my GOAT, as you know, be Michael Jordan the day I die. He put 3 championship rings on my finger. Went to the University of North Carolina. They wouldn't let me back in the state if I pick anybody else, I don't think. But I remember again, and more stuff from the book in Philadelphia. I was injured one summer. I had come off a surgery. And I'm watching the Cats go, and we used to practice at St. Joe's. This was back before teams had their own training facilities. You remember, Marcus? Mm-hmm. We were practicing at St. Joseph's University, and there's this cat going hard in the gym. I'm like, damn, who is this cat? What? I knew he wasn't a pro guy because I would have recognized all the pro guys. I said, what school is he at? Think what college? He said Lower Merion. I said, what conference are they in? Right, like right. Like I never heard. Wow. I think he was gonna say like Georgetown or Seton Hall or something, We're like, no, it's the high school here. I'm like, high school cat, right? And he was going to get Eddie Jones and a couple other Temple dudes. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say he was the best player on the floor, but he was doing some impressive things as a soon-to-be senior in high school. So I kept him on my radar right from the very beginning, and we had the same agent. So we had more of Arn Tellem. If you cross paths with Arn in your days, but a great sports agent before he went to the NBA side of things. He would tell me about how focused he is. And I don't know if you've got a chance to listen to some of his interviews, the way Kobe speaks on passion and dedication and commitment and his drive to want to be the best and the excellence. Now, it's funny because he says all those things and he went out and copied all of Michael Jordan's moves, right? He even had to walk, he had to talk, the game represented him, all the MJs. Like MJ even commented one time, "You could have stole all my moves, right?" So you can't be the GOAT if you don't copy the GOAT's moves. That's kind of my thought process on it all. So I like Kobe's mindset, the way he spoke. And he probably spoke the game even probably better than MJ did. The way he talked about his passion, the commitment that he wanted to do to be Michael Jordan, right? The best Michael Jordan. The way he speaks on the work that he put in to be where he got is so impressive. And I could listen to him, you give me a real 10 hours of Kobe Bryant talking about his dedication and trying to be the best basketball player you could be. I'll sit there and listen for 10 hours straight.
Wow, man,
Wow.
that's crazy, right? That's crazy. But I see somebody else saying some more things, man. We got so many people want to, talk. They want to know, how did me and you, did we meet each other? When was the first time we met, each other? And man, it's another one. This guy says, Scott Williams, when did you? Yes. It's like, man. So
yeah, this whole thing came about really quickly. I'm probably the worst on social media. I suck at Instagram, can't use it real well. And somebody reached out and told me about y'all's show, and they said, "Hey, you need to contact All Ball Chicago and get on the show to try to talk a little bit about the book and what you're trying to do for domestic violence." And so through that contact, reached out to you and just sent you a message like,
yeah.
"Hey, can I come on? Can I come on the show? Can I come on the podcast?" And you were nice enough, and you and Bobby nice enough to have me on this afternoon. So I really appreciate it. I didn't know we were going live. I would have made sure I wasn't coming on late. I didn't know it was a live show. You guys do it up, right?
Yeah, man, because we don't want no editing. We don't do all that stuff, man. We go straight live, man. Let the people, hear you and have comments and all that. So no, we differ from all the other podcasts, man. So
no, and it's been great. It's been refreshing. There's no two takes. You stumble on
One shot. You got one shot.
Just keep on going, right? So
it's like that rebound you gave to Mike in that pickup game that changed your career. You got one shot.
One shot, yeah. And and I got to give a lot of credit because my old college roommate Jeff Denny, he's the one that told me about that game. I was in the summertime. I would generally go back to California after the end of the basketball school season, the school year. And he's the one that, had told me, hey, you need to go get down there. And guys like Abdenabi had been playing, a Duke guy, had been playing over in the game, and Robert Brickey and some of those, Phil Henderson had been playing in the game. And so Jordan was always trying to get more Carolina guys to come through and play. So that worked out real good for me. It was just in Greensboro. He just put it on. It was a camp that Fred Whitfield put on for, I guess, some inner city underprivileged kids that couldn't afford to go to camp. So camp was free. He got Jordan and some of these other, donors around Chicago. And that was kind of the way to kind of give back to the campers to put on a basketball game. They're doing a documentary about it because nobody can believe that this game really took place and we played as hard as we did. Jordan have you in the locker room before the game. I'll never forget this to the day I die. He said, if you're not here to play a good, hard, physical, serious game of basketball, there's the door. You can leave. You can leave. And we're like, wait a minute. Guys were kind of stunned for a minute. Like, we're not getting a check for this. It wasn't like the All-Star game, like the NBA All-Star game that's played today, where they score 50 points a quarter and then brother-in-law basketball. Dudes were banging one another, man, getting physical, blocking each other's shots, stepping in the driving lane, taking charges. It was a real basketball game in the summertime. In fact, I think that the word kind of got out around the league, and they started outlawing it. They said, no, you can't have these basketball games no more. We can't have our guys getting hurt. And so they changed it from a basketball game to a golf tournament called the Hoop Tee, which they do down in Charlotte now. The game was. You ask if you ever have some of them Duke guys on like Ala or Robert Brick, you ask them about this game. They call it the greatest pickup game in the world because it was legit competition, and it was like I say, it was a man style 90s style basketball game. It was a lot of fun to play.
Wow, that is.
I remember Bricky though. Bricky was tough though, right? Wasn't that guy? Could he
jump out the gym?
That's when he blew his knee out.
Yeah, he blew his knee out. He lost some of his athleticism. But before that, man, we would play over at Duke, and they didn't have them breakaway rims yet. And Robert Brickey caught one coming down the middle and damn near jumped over one of my Carolina teammates, and he hit that rim so hard I thought the glass was gonna shatter on the backboard. But he was a tough individual, but you better watch out for Bricky. You better put a body on him. He'll jump up over you and embarrass you.
That's what I remember most about him.
So Scott, you guys really wasn't beefing like that. Then if y'all let a Duke players come over to y'all gym, y'all didn't really hate each other like that.
Well, listen, no. There was no love for the Duke players. Let me just make that clear, Marcus. This was a neutral site. This was over in Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
It was at a neutral site. We didn't allow them to come to Chapel Hill without a written invitation. They could come strolling up on our campus, and we had the prettier girls. We had the funner things to do right off campus than they had over in Durham. They had all the nerdy girls with them 1,400 SATs. So they didn't like the party in Durham. They wanted that 7-mile road. They try to wear that road out, sneak into Franklin Street. When we were out on road games, they try to sneak into town while we were gone. See, that's the only way they got a chance to come over to Chapel Hill.
Well, so we're gonna do 2 more things, then we out of here. This young lady wants to ask a question, and then we'll let you plug that book up one more time.
Can I be a little messy before y'all go? Scott, isn't it crazy Michael Jordan's son is dating Pippen's ex-wife? Then Pippen's son is playing with an NBA guy that used to date his mom. Isn't that wild?
JJ, no comment. Hey, I don't answer a lot of things today, but I think we just ran out of time. Absolutely no comment.
And that is not in Scott's book.
Book, Through the Fire of Memoir, Trouble Lost, Basketball Tribe. You can read about a lot of things, but you will not be reading about that.
Right.
I'm gonna get the book today. I like that. And the colors I like that.
Make sure you guys go grab Scott's book, man.
Get it on Amazon.com. If you can't remember the name, because I know it's a mouthful, just said Scott Williams book in the search bar. It'll pop right up.
And I also, at the bottom, I put your email. Is that cool? I put your
please.
email through the fire book 1 gmail.com.
Yeah. Anybody who needs any kind of help, any kind of resources, or find out where to find necessary help for themselves or a loved one, please reach out. I'm trying to, like I said, I got 2 domestic violence centers, one in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, one out here in Phoenix, Arizona, called the Compass Center in North Carolina, and the Chrysalis Center here. I can put you in touch with them and they can help.
Okay. My man, Scott, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man, and in such a short notice, because
I know we didn't even get a chance to talk about the current NBA playoffs right now.
Man. So we might have to do that another time.
The Knicks back in the playoffs, and the Sixers and the Celtics. It's like reminding me of the '80s again, right? You throw the Heat in there, Jimmy Buckets doing his thing. Out west, my Suns are in a 2-0 hole with Chris Paul getting hurt again. They say death taxes, and Chris Paul getting hurt in the playoffs. Right now we got sweaty palms out here. I love KD. He's my favorite player. Devin Booker's falling out, second leading scorer in the NBA playoffs right now. But we're in a hole, so we need some help. And what did LeBron James go to the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco and do? Put one on the chef last night. So things are heating up. This kid Jokic is fantastic.
Ooh, yeah, he is. He's fantastic.
I go on and on about today's landscape, but that's a quick little 30 seconds. But we got to get me back on next week, baby. I want to talk more about the NBA, the current NBA.
And also, Scott, let the people know what you're doing, what you're up to now too, as well.
Yeah, so the author thing's real new to me. I have a media and security company called Anytime Media and Security right here in Phoenix. We handle any needs that you guys have, anything you watch, listen, or play. We take care of all that. Your Wi-Fi, your internet access, your security cameras. We put all that on lock. Our service will not be beat. You can find us at anytimemedia.com. Also, I am the color analyst for Grand Canyon University. Lopes Up. Just got out of the NC2A tournament this year, second time in 3 years. Very excited about what the men's basketball program is doing there under Coach Bryce Drew. So very excited about that as well. So through 3 things there, I'm pretty busy. At 55, I'm drinking a lot of Red Bull, man.
Wow. Now, Are any one of your siblings playing basketball? Your kids? Any one of your kids?
No, my son, he liked basketball, didn't love it in high school, loves it now. He knows more about probably some of the cats in the NBA than I do. He's actually working right now for the G League affiliate of the San Antonio Spurs called the Austin Spurs. So he's loving that. He wants to be a coach one day. So I don't know if you remember Alan Lumpkin. Alan Lumpkin and I are trying to help get him on that track. Alan's over in Philadelphia. Marcus, just to jog your memory there.
Okay.
So we're doing what we can to get him a coaching spot in the NBA. And my daughter, I love her. She is the apple of my eye. She is a great equestrian. She is one of the top riders down in Texas. So proud of what Ava's doing as well. So, like I said, being a father has been the greatest joy of my life. Winning an NBA championship was a great singular moment, but I'm proud of what my children have accomplished at early stages of their young lives.
Wow! Make sure you go get the book, man. Through the Fire.
And Scott coming back with us next week to talk to the NBA, Liv. We know he say he go do it. Let's do it, man.
No,
anytime you guys can squeeze me in, I don't even need the whole hour and a half. I just want to get on and
talk basketball.
Well, next week, 2 weeks, whatever you guys can fit me in.
We can do it next week. We can do it next Wednesday. Yeah,
let's go. Let's schedule it right now. Then, same time, same channel.
Yep,
same time, same channel. Next week we talking the NBA, man, and we talking about the book. We can talk about the book too.
Keep
the book on stage.
Right, I'm gonna hold you guys to it now.
So Bob should have had. By then, Bob would have the book, and you would have went through it, and so we know what questions to ask, right, Bob?
Yeah,
depends on how fast they deliver it.
I'll overnight it to you. Yeah, you guys got my number. Just text me. I'll just tell me where to send them.
All right.
Okay. Yep.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Scott, man.
Appreciate the love, guys. Thank you for helping me with my book project and raising some awareness. It's been great being on your show. Thank you.
Man, appreciate you.
The legend Scott Williams in the building, baby.
Yeah, man. That was awesome, man. And shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop, because Hoop Baller Scoop is the one that connected us, man. So we always gotta give a shout out to my man Hoop Baller Scoop, man, because he be on it, man. And you don't see that a lot, that people want to help others. We're not getting paid to do this, and he's not getting paid to help us. He's just doing it out of the kindness of his heart. So Hoop Baller Scoop, man, we appreciate you, brother, as always, for looking out and getting us some of our guests to come on our show.
And appreciate all y'all listeners too, man. All the people who watched it, man, with all the great questions. I know we
couldn't get to all of them because we wanted him to talk about the book, So that's why we couldn't get to all of the questions. We tried to, but we couldn't get to all of them because I really wanted to hear his story, man. And then hearing him say when he lost his parents, man, that was heartfelt, man. That. I don't know what I would have done. Having a coach like he did, I'm sure helped him, but I don't know if I could have done that, man. I don't know, but
man,
it's good he's doing that.
Just got a great personality, just a great energy guy. I've always felt that. Even never met him, but I knew that personality that he just showed us today. I knew that's who he was already. Remember I was like, "Oh man, we got Scott Williams on here, energy guy," and he basically served the whole damn interview, man. We could, we didn't even really need to ask a whole lot because he gave us the goods, man, and that's what makes shows great when guests are able to come on and explain and talk to the. Get it all out, man.
Yeah,
but I'm excited as heck too, man. I'm excited as heck.
Yeah, we're gonna have him come back on. We already did say that we're putting it back out there that Scott Williams is gonna join us next Wednesday to talk hoops. We're gonna talk about the playoffs. We're gonna talk a little bit more about his book, but we definitely gonna talk about them playoffs, man, because the Lakers that people may have written off is showing them that they might be the team to beat. And
I did not pick the Lakers to win it.
Yeah, I think you did.
Remember, I picked them to win it.
Yeah, I don't know if you did that last year or this year, but you know, I'll let you slide.
Picked them this year, and they ate me alive. Ron, all them was like, dude, I was like, no, the Lakers can win it. I thought that they would.
You know, and
but
then
I don't know that they're gonna win it. I think Denver might be the team to beat.
You see, now you're going with my squad.
I just watched them the other night, and they play so good together.
Yeah, you know, we both be jumping around because I said I like Phoenix too. So we both be faking the funk over here.
Oh man, we got that option.
No, I said no. I said KD is my favorite player. Kevin Durant is my all-time favorite player in this era. In this era, I'm saying. In this era. Magic Johnson may be my favorite of all time. And then I'm going to go with George Gervin after that. George Gervin. Because those are the people that I kind of pattern my game after a little bit. So, man. Big shout out to Irvin Magic Johnson. If we can get Irvin Magic Johnson on, or Iceman Gervin on, I might not do this never again, because those are the people that I want to actually sit down and chat with, man, and just talk about, man, George, what made you start doing this finger roll? Magic, why you became that passer like you were? You were an elite
Magic
passer.
had all the tricks, man. He had
all the tricks, man. So I would love to get those two on, and it would be great to get them on together. That's my bucket list right there, buddy. To get them two on together.
That would be dope. And it's coming, man. But until that come, we got the legend, we got the NBA veteran, we got the McDonald All-American, man, your boy Marcus Liberty, your boy Bobby Reed. I'm hungry as a hostage. I'm ready to get up out of chill live.
Yeah, man. And again, thanks to Scott Williams for coming on, talking about his book, Through the Fire. And Bob got his culture device, Hilux, the sports drink. Make sure you go get the sports drink, Hilux, all that, man, and more. Be on the lookout for Bob and more to come with that culture. He's got Culture 2 coming up.
Yeah, Culture 2 is black. It's black and silver. It's going to be dope.
Slick.
Yep.
Slick.
Yep.
Slick.
Time to eat. We up out of here. Scott Williams, man, thanks for coming on. If you're still watching, man, love you. See you next Wednesday, big guy.
Peace.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Chicago, oh, Chi-town, oh, Chicago.